I'm on Jazzy Red Talk Show. Jazzy Red.
That's my favorite song, that, ladies and gentlemen. That's my favorite song. I love that song. It's called We Need Love. And yes, we do. I hope your week has been fine. We're filming on the Martin Luther King Day celebration. And I have a surprise for you a little later on. I want to tell you this prayer to say that has blessed me with so much. And all my work buddies and anybody I give it to, they be blessed. The name of it is Prayer of Jabez. It's 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verse 9 and 10. I want you to say that and be blessed. We have some people that are a little under the weather. Miss Betty Ray from Down the Bay. We're praying for you, speedy recovery. You look good when I come by and see you. Big Joe that painted my limo. We're all praying for you. You're a work buddy, and I love you like a brother. So you pull on up. You can do it. This is my book, The Menagerie, and took me 14 years to write. I think at my book signing, I cried. It was an accomplishment. I've been writing ever since I was a little girl. And a teacher told me that I couldn't write in the 9th grade, and I put my pen down until I got grown. So I want you young students to not let anyone tell you that you can't do it, because through God all things are possible. And we're going to go on with our show. One more thing. People had called and said that they hadn't seen the iron, and I showed them the iron. It's an old iron, so we're going to do the iron again. They wanted me to show the iron. This is a 1900 iron, 1900s. And it's very heavy. Inside, there's a rack, and inside of here you put hot coal on it. You put the coal on the rack, and then you close it, and you would lock it in, and that's how you would iron. Y'all got it real easy, because this bad boy is heavy, and it got to go on the floor. All right, you all have a blessed day. We finna get started with the show. Jazzy Red Talk Show, Jazzy Red. This is the surprise I have for my viewers. Mr. Dan C. Noah Jr. will say the I Have a Dream speech that was written by Mr. Martin Luther King. Mr. Dan.
I'm happy to join with you today, and what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. 50 years ago today, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of back captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the Negro is languishing in the four corners of America and find himself in exile in his own land. So we come here today, dramatized of shameful condition. In a sense, we come to our nation capital to cash a check. And the architect of our great republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. They were signing a promissory note This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would one day be able to engage in the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this great promissory note insofar as citizen or color or creed are concerned. Instead of honoring this great sacred obligation, America has given the Negro peoples a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupted. We refuse to believe that there are great opportunities in the great vault of justice, so we come here today to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demands of freedom and justice. We have also come to this hollow spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxuries of cooling off or taking the tranquilizing drugs of gradualism. Now is the time to make real promises of democracy. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time. It will be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment and to underestimate the determination of the Negro. This sweltering summer of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until there's an invigorating autumn of freedom and justice in America. 1963 is not an ending, but a beginning. Those who hated that the Negro needed to blow off steam will be now content and have a rude awakening if the nation was to return to business as usual. There could be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro has gained his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundation of our nation until the bright days of justice emerges. But there is something that I must say to my people who stands on the warm thresholds that leads into the palace of justice. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. And let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatredness. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro's community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people, for some of our white brothers by their presence here today have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. And they have come here to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny. We cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must make the divine pledge that we should always march ahead. We cannot turn back. There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality. We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies, heavy with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodge in the motels and the hotels of the city. We can never be satisfied as long as a Negro's basis mobility is from a smaller ghetto to a larger one. We can never be satisfied as long as a Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and a Negro in New York